Hey, everybody, Kellen Harnett with you. Hope you're having a good night. It's Friday and the weekend is almost here, which means the impending winter storm is almost here. A lot of you have already commented that you have felt the cold air in place, and that's something we're going to be talking about. Jump on in. We've got all of the apps pushing out the alerts, so folks know that we're on. If you want to share this, if you're on social media, that's great. We're just trying to get the word out of what's going to happen. We've got some new data coming in as we speak. We've had a chance to look at some of that. There will be more that comes in before the 11 o'clock broadcast tonight. We've made some minor adjustments to our snow map. I did that during the 7 o'clock show, so if you were watching at that time, it is in general with the trends that have been unfolding across all of the models today, and I'm going to get into that for you as well. So that's something we'll be looking at. See your comments here. This is a funny one, so I'll put it up right away. Ryan picked a good week to go on vacation. Yeah, exactly, right? We've been holding our own, but it's always easier when all of us are here. And a lot of folks talking about the temperature. And that's going to be an important topic of the night. I'm going to explain why. Angela's saying it's already down to 10 in Radcliffe. Single digits already in some places. Temperatures, again, Dave and Gene Feeney showing that. So it is indeed a very cold night, and this is just the beginning of what will be coming our way. So a lot of folks saying hello. There's Paoli, Ashley. There's my friend Laura. We appreciate you saying thank you to us. Our team works hard every day, but especially when the weather's a little nutty. Obviously, we keep some strange hours, and we've been here for 12-hour days, and the weekend's going to be even worse. We'll be here all weekend. So that's just part of what we do when the weather is bad. All right, I'm going to jump into this. A lot of folks are in. There comes a lot more. We just now got the wave weather push. So if you have either of our apps, this will be important for the weekend too, by the way, because we're going to be doing a lot more streams through the weekend, just to kind of keep you updated. And those will include some of our reporters that are out and about. So make sure you have the weather app. When we go on either of the news or weather streams, we always send the push notification. So if you have those turned on, you can see them. Sometimes they ding, sometimes they just show up on the front page of your phone or home screen of your phone. Regardless, it's a way for you to know that, hey, we're here, we're live, we're giving you the information you want. And just a reminder that if you don't have the Wave weather app, you should. It's the area's #1 weather app, and for good reason. We spend a ton of time updating the app. All right, let me just punch up what we're looking at here. Obviously, there's nothing going on tonight. This is the calm before the storm, but boy, that will change in a hurry as we roll through tomorrow afternoon in particular. Temperature down to 9 in Memphis. That's close to Deem Lake. Indeed, that is cold, and it's going to stay cold right through next week. All right, I'm going to jump into the maps, so we won't keep you long. But we're going to walk through this in stages, and let's just sort of summarize first the alert days that we have. 2 for snow, that's Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday into Tuesday for the cold. Wind chills are going to be -15 to -25 by Tuesday morning, so bitterly cold wind chills. An extended period of time where schools are going to be out. Businesses could be closed. Travel could be somewhat impossible by late Sunday into Monday in places. So again, we're not here to hype it up or scare you. I'm sure those people will chime in on here saying we're doing that. I think if you've watched us for any amount of time, and I've been at Wave for 28 years, you probably know we don't jump on the hype train. We sort of call it as it is. We usually lead the way in sort of things, if you will. It's the station with the first TV meteorologist, the first radar, the first 10-day forecast, the first storm tracker, the first blog, the first Facebook page, the first live stream, the first 24/7 weather channel. The list goes on. We're always innovating and trying to do new things to be able to give you, the viewer, the user, the person on the other end of the camera, the information that you need. All right, I'll step off the soapbox. That was a long list of firsts, though, wasn't it? It was indeed. All right, you get the idea. We've got a period of very active weather moving in. The alert day for Saturday, Sunday through Tuesday for the 2 reasons we mentioned, all of it encompassed in this winter storm with significant snow and ice accumulations. When we talk about ice, we talk about 2 versions of it. Sleet, the frozen precipitation that falls as a ball of ice, and then freezing rain, which splatters and then freezes a glaze of ice. Neither one are good, but if you're going to take one, take the sleet. The freezing rain is a mess. The good news is, I don't think we have a whole lot to worry about in terms of freezing rain, and even less as we look at the data that's coming in right now and that's been coming in throughout the day. You're going to have to avoid travel, and you're going to have to protect yourself from the dangerous cold. These are current readings. And you'll notice here in Louisville, we're at 13, but there are a lot of single digits. North Vernon, 7, Bedford, 7, 9 in Madison, Salem, Paoli, 13, Fort Knox, Lebanon, 16. We were talking yesterday that this storm, really would come into 2 parts. And part of the first part would be the colder air rushing in. And that's what we've seen since last night throughout the day today. And you can feel it. I mean, it is cold and it's a dry air. Dew points are low. We've got dry air in place for now. And that's going to not take too long to saturate. It'll buy us a little bit of time at the beginning. And sometimes that squashes snows. Sometimes we'll be like, oh, man, we weren't saturated and it took forever to saturate the atmosphere. And boy, it ate up all the precipitation and we got far less than we thought. Well, that's not going to be the case this time because we have so much moisture to work with that it's not going to take long to saturate. All right, we'll talk more about that in a second. Let's get through the steps here. Current temperature, but sometimes it's not just about the temperature, it's about how it actually feels. And we talk about the feel-like temperature or the wind chill, and that's -2 right now in Louisville, -8 in Bedford, -7 in Evansville. Yeah, 0 over in Lexington. So it is a cold night with a wind. The winter storm severity index still in the major category. Expect it to stay there. The winter storm warning in place. Mentioned that last night too. Few counties to our north, northeast, not under it at that point. We said it would be. Hang on. And we're not alone in that. I mean, this winter storm stretches all the way from Albuquerque to New York City and farther north. Look at that. That's a chunk of real estate covered by winter storm and ice storm warnings. Incredible. This is going to really hamper air travel a lot. So be prepared if you have that in mind. If Saturday, Sunday, Monday, hopefully things relax by Tuesday to be out of the country by then. Things will improve, but this is going to be wicked. And not just air travel. Of course, ground travel is even more impacted by it. So the cold front's passed. Obviously, we have the colder air that's now in place and continuing to deepen across the area. And the depth of that cold air is going to be really important. You'll notice across the entire, well, instead of a line, across the plains, anywhere from, you get even Nebraska's in on it, but Kansas, working your way down to Oklahoma, Texas, you've got snow that's falling. A little bit of a mix just north of Dallas, and then a cold rain south of there. That is the system that we're watching. That is what is moving in our direction. Right now, we see clouds on the increase from the satellite view, but the snow holds off until tomorrow. And this should be in the afternoon for us. So if you have plans tomorrow through the morning hours, should be okay. Get out, get things done early. Now, if you're looking for a sled, a snow shovel, bread, milk, whatever, you might be hard-pressed to find that tomorrow. But if you're looking to get out and be able to move around, early part of the day is going to be your better part of the day for sure. Things during the afternoon will start to go downhill. I'd say by 2, 3 o'clock, we start to see some snow fall. Probably start to accumulate by 4, 5, 6 o'clock. And once the sun sets, we start to see some heavier snow, certainly through that evening time frame. Notice to our south, a little bit of a mix showing up. And I do think that's still a possibility south of the parkways where we could see some sleet mix in. All right. Again, it would be in our southernmost counties that would be potential. The modeling brings it to the parkways, keeps us in the snow, continues to snow. It even tries to, it gets a little bit, and this is just one model of many. So I'm just showing you an example. This brings some of that mix all the way up into Louisville. Latest computer guidance that we're seeing tonight and that we've been watching throughout the day actually brings in a colder scenario. So, and I think that our temperatures tonight are a sign that very well could be happening, which would mean that the mix may come to the parkways, but probably would not come up much higher than that. So consequently, we get higher snow totals north of the parkways. If we're not mixing it with sleet, which creates high compression, which sort of smashes down snow totals, not only because of the weight of the sleet, but because of the ratio that it takes to create it, we would have those higher totals north, okay? We still stay in the snow through Sunday. There's Sunday afternoon. The snow may ease at times, but probably not completely go away until we get into very early Monday morning. And then it's out of here. And then it's all about the cold. So how much snow? This is always the big question. I could have started with this and ended the chat 10 minutes ago. But here it is. You'll see that I did bring down during the 7 o'clock show, if you were watching, mainly because of the data that was coming in from high resolution, and not just one model run. We don't react to our snow contours model to model run. It just requires several runs coming in of high resolution data that says, all right, there is a little bit of argument that we should bring that higher level down. What was that? Well, in the modeling, first of all, the NAM has been running on the warm side. It doesn't always see what we would call the true omega, and that would be the vertical velocity, the push up that we would have in the atmosphere, especially around the 700 millibar level. But what we know is that the NAM has that bias. So when we look at other models and we see that it's there, we can say, okay, well, the NAM is probably running warm, and we can discard that part of it. When all the other models start to trend colder, like several of them have done today, it gives us credence that we could be in the colder solution, and indeed the NAM is faltering on its bias. So that's a reason, and a decent reason, that we've brought that snow band down closer to the parkways. And we'll see if that holds. We still have some hours of high resolution data to go both tonight and again for tomorrow to fine tune this. uh, in the grand scheme of things, those areas were in the 8 to 12 anyway. Now, could some folks get more than 12? Obviously, that's that white area. Yeah, but could they get a lot more than 12? I wouldn't be surprised to see a 18 to 20 inch total. I wouldn't be surprised to see it. That seems nuts to say, but I think it could be possible. And if it were to happen, I think it would happen somewhere in that white zone, obviously, or I wouldn't have drawn it that way. But yes, I think that, there is a difference between 8 to 12 and 12 plus. May not be that much for most, but in particular areas, I think you could get sizable snow totals. All right. Areas to our south get squashed because of the mainly sleet. I don't think we have to worry about freezing rain. If we did, it would be in our southernmost counties, and that would be down toward, say, Columbia, the Lake Cumberland area. That's where we would see the greatest potential for some of that freezing rain. That's the splat, freezes, slicks everything up, not good, but probably not enough. I mean, if you get down into southeast Kentucky, you could get enough where it could cause some power problems, trees. That would be the issue. And again, watching that is the critical part. Watching the temperature profile is going to be so important. When we talk about the types of precipitation, snow is the easy one because, well, hang on. This is not the one I wanted. Give me just a second. Bear with me. That's the icy types. But when we talk about the precipitation and the different types regarding anything from snow to sleet to freezing rain, it's important to know what we're dealing with in the atmosphere. And that means the profile in the atmosphere as far as the temperature is concerned. I'm loading in this graphic so we can take a closer look. And we'll do that together here. So let me just load it. This will make more sense. I could talk about Grapple and the others, but this is the one that'll make the most sense. So snow is easy because we talk about snow, and when we talk about snow, and click the right one, that's just a column of air that's cold from the base of the cloud all the way down to the ground. When the piece of snow drops from the cloud, it stays as snow. Easy enough, right? So if our temperature profile is just totally cold, we get snow. That's the easiest solution to figure out. Then we just have to worry about the temperature and the ratios. That makes it, somewhat calculatable, a little bit easier. Now, there are times where we wind up seeing sleet. And how that happens is we get what we would call a warm nose. We call it a warm nose, a little layer of warmer air above the surface, but there's enough of the cold air just above the surface that when from the cloud, the ice crystal or the snowflake drops, it falls into that warm layer, it melts, so essentially it comes back to a raindrop, but then it falls through a cold layer of air. And that cold layer of air is thick enough or deep enough that it freezes. And you get the little ball of ice, you get sleet. Okay. Well, that's tolerable. It doesn't accumulate as efficiently as snow, meaning not in terms of accumulation or depth, but it's still something that beats the freezing rain scenario. And I say that because freezing rain occurs when we have a deeper warm layer and a shallow cold layer at the surface. So from the cloud drops the snowflake, it falls into the warm layer. Of course, what happens? It melts, it returns to its raindrop, and it continues to fall until right before it hits the surface, it falls into a very shallow layer of what we would call of cold air, and the parcel becomes super cooled, and when it splatters, it freezes because the surface temperature is below freezing. What's that do? That creates a glaze of ice. That's where you get a lot of problems. So I think in this scenario, if we were to see the freezing rain, it's far to the south. It's Columbia down toward London, Lake Cumberland, southeast Kentucky. Have to watch for that. obviously, all of these precip types will have our attention because it's so important. And each one comes with their own set of problems or issues. Regardless, road impacts are going to be great. Tomorrow morning, we could have a few flurries, not to worry. Flurries shouldn't cause any problems during the morning hours. Roads will start to become slick by late afternoon, and certainly during the evening hours, as we've already picked up several hours of snow by that point, they'll be slick and hazardous. They will remain that way into Sunday, and then as we continue to build in snow, they're going to not only be difficult to travel on, some could be impassable, especially the side roads, the ones that are left untreated, not the emergency routes that are getting treated. So keep that in mind. That could be a bear. So here's what we're watching. And this is what we talked about when I saw a lot of your reports coming in from talking in terms of the temperature. The temperature trends are so important. Understanding where we're going to be in that depth of cold air. So one are the temperature trends at the surface. We're already running colder than what the guidance had for us. So that's an indicator that the cold air is rushing in. Models have shown a colder solution throughout the day from run to run. That's another check that surface temperatures will be cold. And then we look at that temperature profile, what we just went through in terms of the type of precipitation, to understand, will we see snow? Will it mix with sleet? Will we have any of that freezing rain? The depth of the cold air is certainly there, and there is a lack of a warm nose until you get farther to the south. Now, what we'll need will be a lot of very sort of, it's tough to get this without weather balloons, because we need the full vertical ascent to know what each level is in the atmosphere in terms of temperature and everything else. Wind, all of the variables would be handy. The bad part is we don't launch those weather balloons, and we talked about this last night. So what we often use will be airplane data from UPS in particular. The ACARS data, as it comes in, gets fed to the National Weather Service, and we can understand the profile as those jets land of what the atmosphere is like. Now, if the airport shut down, if that happens, I'm not saying it is going to happen, but it could happen, we would lose that data. So again, that's valuable to us in icing situations. I think that we may not even have to worry about it because the depth of the cold air is likely going to be there. The models are pointing to that. That's the best we can use right now. It's the reason I pulled down that 12 plus range on the map to include areas north of the parkways. Another thing the models don't do well, or at least the NAM in particular, which has been the warmest running model, is its bias on the, as we pointed out earlier, the vertical motion, on the vertical velocity. So when I took all of that into account, that was enough to support snow, almost all snow north of the parkways. Whatever sleet may mix in just north of there would be negligible if that happened. So just giving you the reasoning behind the change, which is a very minor change, but a change nonetheless in the forecast. All right, we've got a little bit of data coming in. This runs us through Tuesday. You can see the snow total here from the Euro. This would be the 18Z run. The 0Z run comes in overnight, 17.2 inches. Again, you have to understand the ratios may not be where we need to be on these. So we're just taking into account each raw model run. The GFS, the American model, cranks out 20.7 inches of snow. It's wild. That's why I say, I mean, the models point, and some of these models run on a 10-to-1 ratio. The ratios at times are going to be higher than that. I think the average is probably going to be closer to 11 or 12-to-1. And in some of the, if the column is certainly cold enough, could be even higher than that. So it's not out of the question to see that 20-inch total pop up somewhere. I mean, wouldn't that be a doozy? Just crazy. And then this is the graph. This is one of our in-house models, cranking out about 15.8 inches of snow through Monday. And again, it doesn't. We don't add to that total on Monday. You can see it pretty much shuts off Sunday early evening. So those are a few of the models that we have. And just to summarize what our forecast is, again, we have the 12 plus generally north of the parkways into all of our counties in southern Indiana. And then 8 to 12 on either side of that white band, and then lower totals where the sleet will mix into our south down across the southern part of the viewing area. So those are our snow totals. Yes, we gave it a, come on, 10 out of 10. A perfect score. All right, perfect depending on if you like snow or not. All the bots lovers are like, yes. All right, 10 out of 10, cabin fever time. Ugh. All right, I haven't decided how I feel about it yet. Like, I get excited about it. We don't get sleep during this. But it can be tricky to forecast unless it's totally cold. And that makes it a lot easier. Otherwise, we're pulling our hair out saying, oh my gosh, can you believe we've got sleet mixing in and then we're worried about the bust forecast? And then if there's any freezing rain, that's a disaster. All right. So I've gone through some of that. Let's jump back into some of your comments. There are thousands of you in here, so I apologize. I'm not going to be able to get to all of the comments, but we'll do our best. And I appreciate those who answer other people's questions. So that's helpful. I'm just going to jump in and take a few questions as we roll through them. So bear with me. Here's Dave saying there are some weather models that so we could possibly see up to 3 feet. Well, I just showed you a few that had like 15 to 20 some inches of snow. So yeah, 3 feet would be probably too high, but I can't rule out that there could be a couple places that see, upwards of 18 to 20 inches of snow. That's and looking at the soundings, I don't have the soundings to show you here, but most of those are snow soundings until you get farther to the south, and that's where they incorporate a little bit of sleet. So again, with that data that we had coming in earlier, now some of the 0Z data is rolling in. We'll be able to look at that before the 11 o'clock, especially the soundings. I've showed you the raw data, but we can look at those soundings. Will there be an extreme cold warning? Could be, certainly, by the time we get into early next week. I'm going to talk temperatures coming up in just a bit. That's the second prong of the storm. I mean, sure, it's turning colder tonight to support the snow that's going to roll in, and snow is the first part. But then it really does stay cold, and you get a snowpack of, 8 to 12, 15 inches of snow. Doesn't go away soon. Clear the skies at night. You're talking wind chills, way cold, nighttime lows cold. Wouldn't be surprised to see an extreme cold warning should that continue. I think most people know if they see temperatures, minus 10, minus 15, colder wind chills, that's extremely cold. Again, if you're looking for your snow totals, I'm going to leave the map up for a second. You can find where you live. You can figure that out. That's the best we can do right there. So we try to narrow our snow contours down. This makes our forecast hard because it's easy to paint an area and just say 6 to 12. Well, okay. It's much harder to narrow down those contours to 2 to 4 inch ranges. Now, I know I did put the white in there at 12 plus. I don't have a good, sense of where there may be, 15, 16 inches. I think it could be possible. Have no idea where that would be. So we just broad brush that as 12 plus. But then we go to the 4 inch range of 8 to 12, then a 2 inch range of 6 to 8, and then 4 to 6, and so on. So that is what it looks like. All right. Let me roll through some of your questions. Wavy is on the case there. Well, I guess that's Chase is on the case. I shouldn't get the dog names mixed up, right? Wavy it is. So Wavy is working hard. I'll mention leaving the snow map up so you can find your place, because I see a lot of people asking, what about LaGrange? What about Carrollton? What about Madison? Well, you can find that. Power outages is the most detrimental. The good news is we probably won't have a lot of those in terms of what would come from the precipitation. Snow doesn't cause a lot of that unless it gets heavy weight. This should be a fairly light, drier type snow. So that's going to help out too. So a lot of things working in our favor in terms of shoveling it, being weighted down to cause other problems, and so forth. So that's some good news. Just rolling through some of your comments here. A foot or more of snow at the airport will close. Yeah, very well could. I mean, they're going to have a hard time keeping up. So it's not like we see a lot of breaks. Sometimes we get several days of snow, but the snow comes in waves. This one's just going to kind of be here and may snow light at times, but it could be heavy at times. And I suspect that the heaviest potential of that would come our way late Saturday and then again on Sunday. There could be a little bit of a lull in there by Saturday night, late Saturday night. Oh, see, we've got people watching from near and far. I saw some folks way out west. Here's one from Florida. I am so jealous, Kimberly. The nice sunshine and 70, 80-degree weather sounds glorious about right now. Um, yeah, a lot of folks saying they're excited to see the snow as long as the power will stay on. So, with these ratios, how does that translate to inches per hour? Well, that is a rate, so it's different. The ratio is, in general, we would take the QPF or the quantitative precipitation, how much moisture we think is going to fall in liquid terms. So let's just assume it's a tenth of an inch. But most of the models are cranking out an inch of QPF. But for every tenth of an inch, we would wind up with 1 inch of snow. So that would mean that a 10-to-1 ratio with 1 inch falling would be 10 inches of snow. Now, because of the profile in the atmosphere, we're probably looking closer to a 12 to 13 to 1 average, maybe even higher, maybe even as high as 15 to 1 at times. So we'd have to look at the times of when the atmosphere is at what its temperature would be. This doesn't stay constant, it's always changing. So those are the calculations that we try to make and assume, and we check the models to see where they are in the calculation. Some don't adjust, some do. And then we would be able to give a better guess. So on that, if we're looking at a 13 to 15 to 1, you're looking solidly at a, 10 to 15 inch snowfall. So that would be the range based on it being all snow. If for some reason we do see a bigger warm nose or the models are wrong on the cooler scenario, then, obviously that would destroy the snow totals. Now, I don't want us to walk back here and say, wait a minute, but I do want to caution you that because things are always changing, it's impossible for us to know with 100% certainty right now what tomorrow is going to bring. We just simply don't know. We're taking a guess at it based on the data that we have. The best data is what we would call nowcasting, being able to actually see it and then watch it unfold within the next hour or two. But until we get to that point, model data and what is happening now versus what the initialization of those models say, that's the best we have. So we're making some assumptions and we're making some guesses at this point. Will Rhineyville see a lot of sleet or more snow? Well, you'll see a little bit of both down in Rhineyville. So I think you see some of both, but it still accumulates. Sleet still piles up, snow mixed in. It's not like it's a on and off switch. We started talking about this storm. Brian had it on the blog, I think like January 6th, January 9th, somewhere early in the month. And then we flagged the alert day on Sunday. So we've been so far ahead of this storm. It has shown potential all along the way. Oh, yeah. Nice big pot of chili. That sounds delicious. That's another thing. When you're here all day, you don't always eat, even though they have food sitting around. We're always busy. So food has not been flowing today in the weather office. All right, rolling through. Some people trying to still find food at the store. It's like the grocery is empty. The people couldn't find parking spaces today. It's just gotten nuts. All right, could Hardin County completely miss any ice and be all snow? Could happen. At this point, I think that's unlikely. I think you have a little bit of sleet mixing in at times. I'm not sure it really matters. I still think you have substantial snow and ice accumulation up to 8 inches, and in the northern, or I'm sorry, up to 12 inches. You're in the dark purple, so that's the 8 to 12 inch zone. And then northern Hardin County up toward Radcliffe's in the 12 plus. So I don't really think it's a huge change or a huge issue either way. And I think that's important to remember. Let's see. Yeah, we appreciate a lot of folks jumping in just to give their reports. Imping is going to be a great way. We get those reports right into the computer so we can see those. If you're seeing any ice mix in, that's super helpful for us to know, because without the upper air support, meaning the launch of a balloon or aircraft data, for some reason we don't have it. Real-time reports about as good as it gets. So we need to know if you're seeing sleet mix in. And you'll be able to tell the difference between a sleet pellet and a snowflake, right? So that's going to be important for us to know. And if you start seeing that and we see that trend bumping up, then we'll know. Or if we see the trend where it's all snow and the snow is going even further south, then we know, oh, the depth of the cold air is holding and we're in decent shape with our current forecast. Some folks asking about their faucets tonight. Again, we always hesitate to say who needs to have that. It depends on your insulation. It depends on if the pipes are on the outside walls. Never hurts, I guess, to have a pencil thin stream if your pipes are subject to bursting, just because you certainly don't want that problem. Boy, I made the mistake. What a dumb mistake it was. I knew I shouldn't have done it, and I went ahead and did it early in the spring season, and I turned the faucet outside on. I knew it was a mistake, and it bust, and you don't want that to happen. Know where your shutoff valve is. That was another mistake. See, listen, this is how you learn, right? I'm telling you so you don't have to make the mistake. Don't try to turn on the outdoor spigot, and make sure you know where the shutoff is. All right. Oh, heard people were in the checkout lines for an hour. Oh, my gosh. That's awful. I saw 12 to 18 in the white earlier. Probably not on this channel. We just put 12 plus. Patiently waiting for the snow's arrival. As we all are. It's going to come whether we want it to or not. Some folks saying that UPS has canceled the sort on Sunday. Can't confirm it, but some folks in here are saying it. So is it going to snow the next 3 days? Well, it snows 2 days, and it's a duration. It's really a day and a half. So if it begins, let's just say, tomorrow afternoon, and that should continue through Sunday evening. So day and a quarter, day and a half, it snows. And then we've got a little more snow next week. And if you have the real cold air in place, it doesn't take a whole lot of moisture to get another quick inch, 2, 3. So hang in there. The long range sort of outlook, the forecast, the models, whatever you want to say, yeah, winter is not easing up by any stretch of the imagination after this round. No bread, no eggs, no nothing. Everything is out. Do I think there will be thunder snow like 1994? Well, interesting. It's not out of the question that will happen. We do see in situations like this that we can have thunder sleet, thunder freezing rain, thunder snow. It is possible. The freezing rain, sometimes when you have thunder, it rains hard enough to where it doesn't actually accrete. I think the better chance for that's to our south and west, to be honest. But it'll be something fun to see if it happens. We could have some convection. The better chance would be off to the south. Watching from Montgomery, Alabama. That's one of the, it used to be the home headquarters of our television group, Raycom. And my friend Josh Johnson works down there. Let's see. I'm rolling through your comments. You've answered a lot on your own, so thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting so long where folks had to jump in. All right. Yeah. You don't like the patch of hair? I'm not ready to shave it yet. I will. If I was muscular, I think I would be better to shave my whole head. But there's enough there. There's enough there. It's my hair, not yours. Don't worry about it. Okay. I'm keeping it for now. Who knows? After this deal, may not have any left anyway. How much confidence in the euro compared to the graph? Well, two different sort of resolutions of modeling there. So, at this point, we're starting to look toward the high resolution data where we can get down to a much tighter grid, lower kilometer values. So, the graph we like to look at just because it's an in-house model that is different than what all the other models. So we like to see where it is agreeable or not. So that is one thing that we will watch will be the high resolution data coming in, including from ClimaVision, the weather enterprise company here in town that creates its own modeling. And we have that called the horizon. So that too shows the heaviest snow right along just south of the Ohio River. That too has been coming south, which indicates a colder solution on the modeling. Would 12 inches of snow be a new record for our area? No, not a new record, but it would place us in the top. Let me see if I can find it. I thought I had it. I think I showed it yesterday. Bear with me. If these monitors were bigger, I could see better, or my eyes. Maybe it's not the monitors. There you go. So if we hit 12 inches, it would put us at what, number 7 on record. Now, some of these went days, and it's not just, but it was one snow. But we'll see how this works out. I wouldn't be surprised to land in the top 5. It's possible. It really is. Let's see. Worst case scenario, Louisville gets sleet. How long would it last? Not long. No, Louisville would not last long with any of the data that we see. Expect power outages in E-Town? No, I doubt it. Not from icing, not from anything out of the ordinary. Can't say that a car doesn't wreck and crash into a power pole and power goes out, but I don't think icing causes any problems on that. Let's jump through. Let's see. Some folks just saying hello, so back at you, Felicia. Yeah, everybody's. A lot of folks earlier were asking in the building about Groundhog Day. That's at the very end of our 10-day forecast. I'll share that with you in a second. In fact, let me cue up the 10-day, and then we'll bounce back talking about the second part of the system, which will be the cold, because we do have really the snow is one part, but the cold is the other. So a quick break. When we come back, we'll tackle the cold part of the storm. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, we're back with you here. We've got you covered on what's coming our way after the snow, which happens to be extreme cold. And with that, you're going to have to pay attention all over again, simply because, things happen when it turns cold. not necessarily pleasant things either. We're talking wind chills, -6 by early Monday morning. And if you think that's cold, the coldest actually occurs Tuesday morning, where wind chills would be about -15 to -25. And we'll see how this works out with the snowpack. Could have to even adjust those colder depending on sky conditions and the amount of snow we actually have on the ground. With that said, just a couple of tips to deal with the cold if you're going to be out in it. Some of you have to be. Loose layers, that's the best way to go. Don't forget the hat. Don't forget to cover your mouth. That protects your lungs. Mittens, gloves, those are a must. Stay as dry as you can. That sort of goes without saying. You'll stay a little warmer that way. In the 10-day, the alert days are stacked up through early next week, mainly because of the snow for the weekend. That comes in Saturday into Sunday. Again, for those that are just now jumping into the stream, the snow begins tomorrow afternoon. Heaviest to our south during that time. Lifting to the north, we see a little bit of warmer air mix in, gives us some sleet across areas just south of the parkways, perhaps some freezing rain down toward the Tennessee border. That will move through, and then we're going to notice the snow continuing into Sunday. Finally gets out of here by Sunday evening, it looks like. Not before putting down impressive totals, though. Most areas 8 to 12. The white areas more than 12. Areas to our south with some of that contamination from the sleet, anywhere between 4 to 8 inches, depending on where you are. 4 to 6 in Columbia, 6 to 8 toward Campbellsville and Greensburg, it looks like. And that would be a combination of sleet and snow totals that we expect for that area. So that is a look at the snow forecast coming our way for Saturday. The icing forecast is farther to the south, closer to that Tennessee border. That's where we'd be concerned of any power outages should those occur from the precipitation. Now, by Sunday, much of the precip is over, but the roads are a mess, and that's where you're going to have difficult travel. So plan accordingly. Get ready as this system passes by. It will be rolling through with heavy snow, followed by the bitterly cold air that comes in behind it. Temperatures every day next week, way below average. And in fact, Groundhog Day, still in the 20s at best. So that's a look at the 10-day. All right, we're going to jump off. It's 15 after 10. Because I've been doing the 7 o'clock show this week, I've been coming onto the stream a little later so I could at least have a time to look at some of the data and get the stream put together. That said, we will remind you about your pets. Don't forget that. If they're outside, make sure they have appropriate shelter and food. And that's a good reminder to end on. We'll take this time to say goodbye. We'll be here through the weekend. I'll mention that we have a couple of special streams that will come up over the weekend. First of all, like we're doing now, and Brian does every day, we'll be on the stream multiple times throughout the day, Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., we'll simulcast a stream, both on all of our digital properties. So if you have Amazon, the Fire Stick, or Roku, or Apple TV, you can download the app. It's a good way to keep up with what's happening. You can also use our weather app or the news app and watch from there. And then at that 7 o'clock time frame tomorrow, all of our reporters will join us, and we'll stream that also in conjunction, not just online or on our digital properties, but also on TV. And then we'll do the same thing, but for an hour on Sunday from 4 until 5. So just look for the notifications. We'll send those out saying, hey, we're on with an update. If you have the ability to join in, you can join in. We'll be able to see some of your comments too. So appreciate you jumping in here tonight. Stay safe this weekend. You have a little time to still prepare if you're not prepared yet. It'll be a pretty big winter storm that moves in, and it's going to take a little while to get through. So we'll be here to keep you updated with what's happening. Should there be any changes, we'll be certainly first to deliver those. And I'll see you tonight at 11 o'clock on Wave News at 11. Have a good night, everybody, and thanks for jumping into the stream here. We will talk to you tomorrow. At least I hope we do. We'll see you then.